Welcome to Cycle Breakers and Moneymakers, a podcast for women of color and first gen who are breaking generational cycles and glass ceilings by going places no one before them has ever gone. I'm your host, leadership coach, and eldest daughter of immigrants, Mariela De La Mora. I left a 16-year marketing career to create a multiple six-figure a year coaching business as a single mom. Each week, you'll learn how to build unshakable self-trust, become in demand, lead with confidence, and make more money by being more of who you are. Hey, y'all. So I'm recording this episode. It's a little bit different because it's been something that I've been approached about a lot by people who are thinking about having kids, who are afraid to have kids, especially if they have a business, just worried about what it's going to mean for them. Can they do both? And also just from other parents who feel seen by what I share about my own parenting journey. So if you're just joining me on this episode and you don't know anything about me, I'm a single parent. My daughter is 7. She happens to be home this week because she is sick and had a fever. And so all of my plans have been creatively put into little pockets of time that I've had to figure it out. But this is just life, right? But I'm a single parent to a 7-year-old. It was not my plan. I will tell you a little bit about how it was not my plan and how desperately I really tried to have a child under the most ideal circumstances, and how many of the things that I'm doing are literally not something that you see single parents doing because of the amount of risk it takes to have a business and how much you deeply have to trust yourself and really just know that you are dedicated to making this work no matter what. And I think that's why people come up to me, because I think without them saying this, they're like, if you can do this as a single parent, if we're thinking about having kids and the person has a partner, they're like, I think that we can do it. They just want to hear from somebody who is doing it with a lot less support than they have. And also, I think they come to me because I'm somebody who probably shatters a lot of the perspectives of what you think you have to have in place, because you really just rise to the expectations that you give yourself. And if you think, oh, you have to have all these things, and if you just had to figure it out, you probably would. And not that anybody should ever have kids if they don't want them. I think that it is deeply personal. And there's people who just you just don't necessarily ever need to be pressured to have them. I think that we need more people in the world who are just amazing theos and theas and, taking care of their best friends' kids and all the things. This is just for those who are, number one, parents and want to feel seen by someone who's also a parent and has a business and wants to know, how do you do it? What is possible? Can you have a multiple six-figure a year business and have a child? Yes, I am the example of that. But also if you're someone who's considering having a kid and you're just scared, understandably, right? And you're planning for it, thinking about it. And I just wanted to share a little bit more about my experience. So this episode is for you. If you are a parent with a business, or if you're just somebody who has a really demanding career and you often feel like nobody understands your situation, or you just get mad whenever you get advice and it's from somebody who doesn't have kids and you're like, yeah, that's cute. That wouldn't work for me. This episode is for you, just for you to just not feel alone. And I'm going to name stuff specifically in this episode that feels so specific, but I'm sure other parents are going to be like, oh my God, yes, this is exactly what it is like. This is also for you if you're a business owner who's thinking of becoming a parent, but you're scared and you just want to hear it from somebody who has made it work despite a lot of the backup plans and safety and support and privilege not being in place, and how I've been able to still run a multiple six-figure business as a single parent and sole breadwinner, meaning I take care of her. She is always with me. I provide for her everything for her future. I'm the person who has to do that for her. Or if you're just listening and you're a single parent and you often don't hear people speak to you directly, I know that it can feel like you're unseen and it's a very lonely experience sometimes. And society really centers two-parent households. And so this episode is for you. So I just want to open with, when people say to me, I don't know how you do it, it is a compliment and it's very validating to me. I don't seek to hear that, but they will tell me this. And sometimes friends of mine will say this when they have spouses, they have partners, and that partner goes out of town. I'll hear this often from my friend when their partner goes out of town and then they are alone with their child and having to do the school drop off and pickups and making lunch and homework and doing all the things, right? And they'll message me and they're like, Mariela, oh my gosh, it's just been a week. It's only been a week and it's just been so hard. And this happened and that happened. And I just haven't had a minute to myself. And I feel like I've been busy all day, but I haven't done any of the things that I really wanted to do. And I was just thinking about you. And I just want to let you know I don't know how you do it. It's so hard. I always think about you. And I'm just like, I love you. Thank you for that. And they're like, yeah. And it's not even the same because they still have another income. They still have a partner, right? So they're not alone. They're not single parents. If you have a partner who is also looking after the well-being and financial stability of your child and who you can potentially be like, hey, can you handle this? And I handle this. Like, this is why they're like, I'm not a single parent. It's just, it feels like I'm single parenting this week and it feels hard. And I'm like, yes, I appreciate that. And so I think that I want to share this with you because first of all, I don't want to be like, oh my God, yes, it's so hard. I don't know how I do it. I just have never had another option. So I think for me, when people tell me that, I'm just like, thank you. I guess I just don't know how it would be any other way because I haven't had that. And so I think in that way, I'm able to almost see what people are capable of from a different perspective because I never would have thought I would have done this. In fact, I tried everything, did everything in my power to be someone who was like, I have a husband and a child and the baby and like I have this best job and I have all these things. I tried. Like I was always somebody who wanted kids. From when I was young, I wanted like 3 kids. And through different circumstances of not being in a healthy marriage, my first marriage, thankfully, we did not have children. And then I got married again and we had Pi. But by the time I got pregnant with her, it took a couple tries. By the time I got pregnant with her, without getting into the specifics, I will be very vague in general and just say we were no longer together. By the time the pregnancy test showed that I was pregnant, the marriage had ended 2 weeks prior. So it was our child together, but it takes a minute before you find out you're pregnant. And I just remember like wanting to be a mom so much. We literally had a 2-bedroom in London, me and Pi's dad. In London because one was going to be their nursery, right? So like we met while I was solo traveling. We fell in love. I moved to England because you can't have an English spouse and live in the same place unless you're married. It's just very hard with visa situations. So I was living in London. Like it was literally so much the plan that like we had a 2-bedroom in anticipation of this child of Pi. And I just remember the day that I was in this cafe close to my house. We lived in this really nice building in West London and we had a 24-hour doorman, like security. I had this job. I worked in bank London, in the city. And I just remember being like, oh, I've got it all. Like I've got this charming English husband. I have this job at one of the top hospitality recruitment agencies in London. I am like this American girl living her eat, pray, love dream. I had this wedding. So many people were like cheering for us because they had followed our love story, like all the things, right? Like I felt like I had made my dream come true and I was like finally ready to have a baby. And then the day that I was like, I feel like I'm pregnant and I took the test. Like I said, I was in a coffee shop near my house and we had split up 2 weeks before. I just remember being in disbelief, like, no, this is not the way that it's supposed to happen. I didn't prepare my entire life to go to college, to get the house and get the career and get the husband and all of the things for it to happen when I'm literally splitting up. And I just remember being like, okay, but this is your reality. So what are you going to do? There's a lot about parenting that makes you have to let go of your ideals, makes you have to let go of like how you think things should be and how they should be and who you should be and like all these ideal circumstances, because there's many instances when you become a parent that are not going to be ideal and you're going to have to figure it out and you will figure it out. You actually are so much more capable. Like nothing has taught me how capable I am of things than being a parent. Business honestly feels easy. I feel like you can always problem solve business. Parenthood has expanded my capacity, my identity. Parenthood has expanded my identity of what is possible more than any experience in my entire life. And so with this, I want to share, like, as much as people say, oh my gosh, like I could never be a single parent. I don't know how you do it. I have this thought sometimes about, oh, I don't know. Am I able to have $1 million business? I can't imagine me having $1 million business. And I remember my coach telling me, what you think about, I don't know if I could have $1 million business. A lot of people think about, oh, I don't think I could ever be a single parent. What if somebody said that to you? I'd be like, you would if you just didn't have any other option. You would figure it out. And she's so just in the same way that you being a single parent was just chosen and you just rose to it. It's the same if you just decide you want to do a hard thing, grow $1 million business. So in a way, like me being a single parent and knowing that I did something so hard that most people think they could never ever do, which is not true. Most people think they could never ever do. I'm like, well, if I could do this, what else can I do? If I could do this, of course I can have $1 million business. So this is why even when things are hard, it actually has made me more relentless because I'm already doing something that people are so in awe that my own friends will call me and message me and say, Mariela, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. Or people who are thinking of having kids are like, can I please talk to you? Because this is what I'm thinking and I'm so scared. And it just has changed my self-concept, honestly, to think I can do anything if I can do this. And I actually I'm not as in awe of myself maybe as other people are. I'm just like, yeah, this is just like how it is. This is what I got to do. So I'm telling you this, that parenthood really expands again, like what you think is possible, right? There's a lot of realities of it. It is hard. It can be lonely. You do sometimes compare yourself to people who are posting about their nice peaceful morning and how they've meditated. And you're just like, yeah, I can't do that. I'm so tired. Sometimes you feel like things just aren't possible for you because you feel so out of control of your time and energy and like all of the things. And I just want you to know that you're not alone. And I also want you to know if you're considering having kids that like you will rise to it in the same way that I didn't believe that I could be a single parent. If you have support and you have a partner, I mean, it's even a different situation for you and that you just become a different person. The version of you who is parenting is not the version of you who is listening now if you don't have kids yet. You will expand. That's the best way I can describe it. Your capacity will expand, your self-concept will expand, your ability to love will expand, your ability to forgive, your ability to be patient. It will have to. Your ability to hold multiple thoughts and things you're planning and juggling in your head and thinking about at any given time will expand. You just expand. You just expand. So I think that's why people think that they can't do it or that they can't do something because they're thinking from their current reality. And this is how parenting has affected the way that I see business because I'm like, yeah, if I were to think about myself and my current problems, I couldn't imagine having $1 million a year business yet, even though I've had a $350K a year business, right? But if I'm thinking about it from my current identity, that does seem out of reach. So parenthood has really taught me something about identity. And so with that, I just wanted to share a little bit about some of the ways that parenting affects how I've run my business, how I run my business currently, how I have a multiple six-figure business as a single parent. And that being said, I'm literally recording this while my daughter is in her room because she's homesick and she had to stay home. She's literally been home with me all week because normally my dad picks her up, but he couldn't because my sister who lives with them is also sick. And I was just like, okay, let me keep her home. Let me just pick her up because if she goes there, she's going to get sick. And then she wound up getting sick anyway. But the thing is, it's happened so many times that I'm just like, you know what? If I have to cancel some calls, I'll just do that. If I need to pick up my laptop after she goes to bed, I'll do that. If I need to let her be on her iPad while I get some work done, I'm going to do that. I'll just figure it out. It's okay. So this has just solidified my self-trust over and over again of I will just figure it out. So with that being said, one of the things that is just very present and in how I run my business and really what it looks like to have a business and be a parent is that you will learn how to manage your energy more than your time because time feels like it just escapes you and you could have time but not have energy, right? So like whenever, for example, if you've ever been coached on time, like I've been coached on time, I think the one blank that I have to fill in is I can have the time, but when I don't get things done that I want to get done in that time, why? Because it isn't just about the time. It's if you are mentally burnt out because you are having to make all these administrative decisions for your kid, or you're worrying about something that's happening at their school, or they have been waking up a lot at night. And so that's been affecting your sleep pattern, or you are overstimulated because your thoughts are constantly being interrupted, or they're jumping on you, or they're jumping in the house, or because your house is a mess because when you have kids, your house looks like kids live in it. And that can be really dysregulating for your nervous system. You can have auditory overstimulation, physical touch overstimulation. There's so much overstimulation that happens when you have kids that this is why growing a business and having children means having the understanding, or having a coach who can help you with this, to understand that like energy management is going to be way more important than time management, because there's so many invisible things that chip away at your energy, that like you're going to have to take care of yourself and pour into yourself, because your little mug of water that you use to pour into your life needs to become a pitcher. And in order for it to become a pitcher, you're going to have to expand your capacity by the way that you support yourself and the way that you take care of yourself, right? Energy management matters more than time management is one way that you rise to being a parent and having a business, right? Is that you will become a pro at managing your energy. This is something I help my clients with all the time, right? So even with my clients now, the way that this has looked is when I'm coaching them, like one of my clients is a single parent, right? We'll look at like how often, like when is your child in daycare? If family members are taking care of them, or are they taking care of them in the house? Because if in the house, like your body is going to have a really hard time focusing when your kid's under the same roof. How is your child doing in daycare? How are they doing in school? Because if they're having a hard time, that's going to take up a lot of time. That's something that I've coached on in reclamation recently, is that becomes almost like the primary thing we need to coach on, because it's going to take up so much of like mental energy of making sure that your child is okay. I've had to coach on kids getting bullied at school. I've had to coach on like lots of different like stuff happening in school or in daycare, kids having a hard time with daycare drop off, all of that. And it really just consumes the parent, that like I actually have to coach on that so that they have the space and the capacity to even think about their business. Otherwise, they're just like all tied up and like in survival mode, because naturally as a parent, you're just going to focus on, is your child safe, right? And I've also coached on things like in the summer, your kids are home, so you'll feel like you have less capacity because they're there. And just all of those things matter, right? So energy matters more than time, and your energy is going to be spent a lot on thinking about stuff with your kids. But that doesn't mean that you can't grow a business. You just have to understand that whenever you see advice about time or time blocking and all of that, it's incomplete advice for you. It's just incomplete. It's not wrong. It's just incomplete for you, because you actually do more than the average person in a day. It's just energy management, and that you can feel exhausted even though you feel like you didn't do anything, which is probably not true, because your senses are overloaded and your mind is always thinking about the administration, and you're worrying about the future and who's going to be president, all the things, like, right? Like we got to get that in order. So energy management is how I run a multiple six-figure business as a single parent. And it is how I help my clients. Number two is that you will also have to manage your guilt a lot, because you will always feel like when you're nurturing one thing, the other thing is suffering, which is actually not true. You just have to redefine that to say, what does my business need? What is absolutely essential? And just like managing your guilt around that, because you're always going to feel like you're dropping the ball somewhere. And I think that if you just normalize that, it's okay, does this actually have to be true, or am I just guilting myself? Because we get fed a lot of ideas around what is a good parent and screen time and what does it mean to be present and all the things that I'm like, honestly, your kid doesn't need for you to be with them and like staring at them in the face all the time. They actually just need to feel safe and loved. And they need more of a regulated parent than like a parent that's there physically with them all the time, right? So if you are going to therapy, if you are getting your sleep, if you're drinking your water, if you are being kind to yourself, and you feel like you've been working a lot, your kid is probably better off than if you were like hovering over them, snappy, tired, all of those things, right? So that is another thing that I wanted to tell you, is like the best thing that you can do for your kids is to take care of yourself, not necessarily to be with them every second, but the guilt is real no matter what. The other thing is, when you become a parent, you're also modeling something for them that changes the way that they see their options, because you don't have to tell them you can be anything when you are being anything. They won't think in terms of the workforce and college when you are modeling you being a business owner. Like my daughter will ask me about the names on my Post-its. And if you're watching the recording, they're right behind me. And she's like, who is this person? And how do you say their name? And how old are they? Because kids are rude and they ask about how old people are. And she's asked me, like, what is my job? And I just say, I help women. And I'm like, I help them feel confident. It's like, how do you explain this? I help them feel confident. I help them grow businesses, and I help them feel good about themselves. And that's it. And she's just, oh, and then she like changes the subject. But I know that in this, when she thinks about what she wants to do, she talks about businesses. which is interesting because I don't know that would be the case. I don't know that would be a case if I had a job. She'd be thinking about jobs. And I'm like, I love that for me and I love that for her. And so the beautiful part about being a parent is like all of the beautiful parts about you that you get to model for this little human, right? The other thing that changes, and also how I run a multiple six-figure business as a single parent, and how you can too, if you aren't already, and how you can just be a parent and have a business is, again, you change, right? You will become more agile and just able to roll with the punches, even if you are a type A person now. So if you think that you need to plan more, what actually happens with parenting is like you become better at handling when things don't go to plan. So when people think there's just too much there, like I got a plan, I'm like, if you're already good at planning, you're going to be fine as a parent because you have no problem with parenting. It's really just like, how do you roll with stuff when things change? Case in point, my kid is home right now. She's been home all week. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I got to do by Monday. Haven't even started. It's just like, I'm going to have to figure it out. But there's something beautiful about when you go from being a planner and finding safety in that to knowing that you can handle anything, like you actually end up trusting yourself more. So that is another thing that happens is you become more agile and becoming the person that can handle rolling with the punches, because that will absolutely happen. And that actually makes you more fearless. Like you're going to end up becoming someone who is, I don't know, can like laugh at things when they don't go according to plan. If you've ever hung out with parents, especially if small children, you'll probably notice like a lot of us have this almost like a sarcastic sense of humor that we've developed just because it's very humbling. And I think it's like if you were very tightly wound, you're either going to make your kid's life miserable because you're tightly wound, or you're going to just be like, you know what? We're just going to figure it out. We're going to be the dog in the meme with the thing burning. And we're like, it's fine. It's fine. But you actually are going to be fine. Like you will figure it out. You'll also become an expert at simplifying things. So right now, even if you're somebody who way overcomplicates stuff, I have had to just be like, okay, if you only had half the time to do it, how would you do it? Because that's literally your reality. And I love that for me because I think about the trajectory if I didn't have her, and I feel like I would have just gone down this other route. But you just find time by simplifying and just in a way like lowering your standards, probably from an unhealthy degree to like a healthy degree where you're just like, it's all right, we're going to figure it out. The other thing is, as a business owner, when you have kids, you have to, especially if you're a sole breadwinner, is you have to focus on profit. That's one of the things that does shift is if you're doing a bunch of different things, you're just like, what can bring me the most profit versus this one-off here, and I'm selling an intensive here, and I'm selling this thing here. It's no, if I had to pay my bills with one offer, what would this look like? So for me, I've always sold high ticket. I've elevated my skill set and my identity to support it. I've elevated my client results to support it. And this is why, for me, I say being able to sell and market a 5-figure offer and deliver it is what allows me to feel like I have a sustainable business, because no matter what, I know that one client a month is all I need for me to be okay. And you can't say that about a lot of other things. And so this is why I've talked in the past about 5-figure offers is like what allows me to be a present single parent and have a multiple 6-figure business, because I've just dedicated myself to becoming the coach and the business owner who can do that and deliver that well. And that can change your life on its own, because that on its own, you can support yourself and sustain yourself. And so if right now you're somebody who has this whole product suite and you're launching all these things and you're doing all these things, you will probably want to simplify that in becoming a parent and focus on the profit, like profit and energy. What can you deliver and put out into the world that doesn't require you like overhauling your business, right? So that's definitely something that I help my clients do as well. You also, I would say, if you're worried about like the risks that business requires, I think what happens is you still take the risks, but you take them differently. I think that parenting has made it so that I can't play it too safe. You think that you need to play it more safe, but in reality, if you play it too safe, you'll chokehold your business. Examples would be if you're growing and you're landing clients, you need to fund the business. You need to introduce a team member. You need to have somebody that's building in systems. You need to make sure that you're still getting coached. You don't stop getting coached. And what sometimes will happen is like the growth will happen and then you want to play it safe, but then the playing it safe cuts off the profit of the business. And so it's important in this, if you're working with someone who like understands that like your survival mode will want to cut out expenses or play it safe, when in reality, it's like, no, I understand what you're trying to do, but this is actually what your business needs to grow. So you'll still take risks. I still take risks, but I just take them differently because I like to be a person who's let me look at my numbers. Let me look at this makes sense. This is what the business needs, because I don't have the option for the business not to work because I'm a breadwinner. So I think that once you take the option off the table for something working, you just figure out how to make it work, right? I think I've had to treat my business like a business earlier on because I'm a parent. And again, you rise to the requirements again, that if you have more of a safety net, you are like, okay, I'm going to operate within the safety net that I have. But if you had to make it work, you'd probably make it work the same way that I do. I think the last thing about how I run a business and raise a child is that I have had to learn how to be wildly compassionate with myself because she taught me that. Here's what I mean by that is that if you're somebody who has succeeded by having a very strong inner critic who like is on top of you getting stuff done, there's something that happens when you have a child and you realize like you would never talk to them that way. It really creates like this disparity of, damn, if I wouldn't make her do this or I wouldn't talk to her this way, why am I being this way to myself? So nothing has expanded my self-compassion like having a child. Nothing has allowed me to hold space for my clients like having a child, honestly, because when I look at the way that I was raised versus the way I'm raising her, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. There's a lot of things that business will bring up that you don't realize until you're in it. And then you think you're the only person. But actually, business, especially for daughters of immigrants, really triggers a lot of the things that you didn't receive. So if you didn't receive unconditional love, if you didn't have parents who wanted to get to know you specifically as an individual and knew that you were an individual versus telling you who to be, if you grew up with parents who worried about money, all of those things affect us in business, right? Like these are things that I coach on because business does activate those things. And I'm even more aware of them, not just because I've healed, but I'm even more aware of them because I'm a mom, because I see how my child moves. And it's like, for example, she's not worried about money. I used to save my money as a kid because my parents would worry about it all the time because we never had enough. But for her, she gets $6 from the Tooth Fairy and immediately wants to go spend it at Target. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because you're 6 and like you have everything you need. So that is what you should do. And I think about when she falls, even if she's actually okay, it doesn't matter that she's okay. I can't just be like, you're fine. I have to still go check on her. Like she doesn't want to be dismissed. I have to check on her and be like, I see that was hard. I see that you fell. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And I think about, oh, wow, how often do we bypass like our own emotions? Are you actually sitting with, are you validating yourself or are you bypassing yourself? Right. So like I'm able to catch these patterns in my clients of when they're intellectualizing their emotions versus feeling them, when they're not validating themselves, when they're like, I don't know why this is so hard. I know what to do. And I'm just like, of course it's freaking hard. Let's just look at a lot of our conditioning, right? Me being a parent has made it so clear of what we all should have received and the person that we become when we have unconditional love, when we have a parent who gets to know us. I literally know my child's human design. I know she's a projector, and it has allowed me to be like, oh, this makes sense of why she doesn't like to introduce herself, but she wants an invitation in. I just think if I had me as a parent, if I had that, I would be, who would I be? Who knows? Who freaking knows, right? It really, parenting has healed me in so many ways. Like she was sent to this earth to be my teacher. I swear I was meant to be her mom. She was meant to be my daughter. But your child's going to test you. They're going to freaking test you, but they're also going to show you so much about yourself. And in a way, like what you didn't have, and they get to be your example of this possibility in the world. And definitely if you're a coach, it will show you so much more about like why certain things are hard in business and normalizing that, right? And it's why I'm able to make such fast connections for my clients because I've studied patterns and I've studied like how these things show up because I've worked through them and because I'm raising a child that is unburdened by a lot of those things, right? So there's so many gifts to it, but like this is how I make it work. Honestly, I have to be compassionate with myself. I got to focus on my money and my profit. I need to make sure that I'm well resourced. I literally moved to San Francisco just to be near my parents because I tried living in a state, 2 states away or state away on my own, and it was really hard. It's really taught me how to ask for help, receive help, to be okay with plans changing and not hold it against myself. It's really just taught me how to love myself unconditionally. And it's taught me that I'd say the most significant thing that I didn't expect, it's really changed my identity in terms of what I believe is possible because I'm doing something that many people are still shocked that I can do. And if I can do this, I can do anything, right? So if I can be a single parent, even though I literally tried everything in my power to have this quote unquote American dream with the husband in the house, and I still am doing this thing, if I can do that, I can have $1 million business, a multi-million-dollar business. And so you will be surprised what you can rise to when it is your circumstance and when you don't have any other choice. And when you think about whether it's becoming a parent or having the bigger business, like just the big scary thing, your identity and your capacity are going to expand to that. It's not the current version of you that's going to do it. So that's what parenthood has taught me, that it is not my current identity and my current capacity that is going to do that hard thing. It is the version of me that I am becoming. And if I take the option off the table for that thing to happen and I say it's going to happen no matter what, then how would I move differently? So in the same way that I didn't have a choice about being a single parent, if I didn't treat my success as a choice, if I didn't treat the $1 million business as a choice, and I was like, what's going to happen? How would I move differently? So I know this is getting deep, but parenting really has changed my life, changed the person that I am. It's made me a better coach. And she's expanded my heart in a way that I didn't know was possible. And it is worth every single thing that I ever went through. The heartbreak, in like the divorce, the starting over, all of the things, just to experience being her mom in this lifetime. It is the greatest gift in the world. And whether you want to have kids or not, this is just my experience in being a parent. And I never would have thought that I could do this until I had to do it. And now I'm just like so grateful that I get to do this. I'm so grateful that I get to do this, and I will take everything that comes with it just for me to do that. So just to recap what we talked about today, that parenting and running a business, energy matters more than time, number one. Number two, managing your guilt. Number three, that you will shift from planning. If you're a person that's a planner, you will become more agile and able to roll with the punches. You will become an expert at simplifying and just getting the minimum viable out the door. You also will focus more on profit and protect the profit. And how can you just simplify how you bring that into the business? That's another thing that I would recommend. And the other is knowing that the version of you that is going to grow the business is an expanded version of you, not the version that you are today. So as long as you are committed to becoming the person, that's how you're going to do the thing. Then the same way that you think, I don't know if I could have a business and be a parent, your capacity will expand. And that's how you're going to actually get it done. It's not from the current version of you that you are right now. You also will become someone who has so much more compassion for yourself. Self-compassion has been one of the main things that parenthood has taught me, and it's made me a better coach. So I think with that, if you have questions, if you're someone who's just has questions about parenting journey, or you have kids and you're just struggling in business, I'm also offering shorter term coaching now. So for folks who want to work on a specific area of their business, like I said, I've coached folks on maternity leave. I've coached them on like life and business things. I'm offering shorter term packages. And so if you reach out, we can work out something and kind of figure out what it is that you need. Because I think that in this world of entrepreneurship, like we go through so much that we need to be able to be supported in different aspects of our life. So sometimes we're trying to solve a problem in our business, but in reality, we need somebody to take a whole look at our lives, what is happening, what's coming up, whether you're planning on having kids, or maybe it's something that's happening with your kids. Like you need somebody that's going to be able to look at all aspects of your life and be able to support you from there. And I want more of us to thrive and to be well rested and not feel like we have to choose between parenthood and business, because we're modeling something really incredible for our kids. And I think that if we just stop comparing ourselves to people who don't have kids, it will be so much easier, because it's not the same. But it doesn't mean that you have to lower your goals or change them, or that it isn't possible. It's just going to look different, and that is okay. So with that, I hope this episode was helpful. Please let me know if you have questions or what stood out. And if you are looking to work with a coach who understands this, that can help you to set the foundations, to grow your business, to feel more peaceful, whether it's to prepare to have a family, or whether you have one on the way, or whether you have kids and you feel like that part of your identity hasn't been seen and you want to work with someone, whether it's shorter term or longer term, to help you figure out how to get your bearings, reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. All right, y'all. I will see you next week.